Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week is Youth Week. It's quite ironic, really, that this budget delivers such a harsh delivery for young people. If we look at the reduction in allowances for postgraduate study, and if we look at what's happening with student loans, it really is quite a savage deal for our younger people. So it's quite distressing as well to see this bill in front of the House, which attacks our older people. The Green policy is to oppose asset testing for our senior members. We do this for we have this policy for several reasons, and my colleague Kevin Haig has already outlined some of them. One is that we see asset testing in this legislation, which seeks to increase the threshold, basically. We see it as discriminatory. It is discrimination against older people because there's no other healthcare services that you have to front up and be asset tested on in order to access them. We also oppose it because it's unevenly spread. I think the previous speaker referred to the fact that people who are quite well off, who are used to placing things in family trust, will be able to rot the system. They won't be as savagely dealt to as those who are less well off, but have still got their own assets. It goes against sensible reasoning. We've already heard from a previous speaker that this actually just delivers, $4.5 million in savings, which is not much when you consider the lifelong contribution that our senior members have made to our society. And it also goes against what we see as the current policy for care for the elderly, which is about ageing in place. We're moving to a situation where older people will be picking up residential care only in episodically, if you like, where they move into residential care for respite and then come back into the community. It's going to be very difficult to do that if they've already had to sell their family home. Capping of the threshold makes it harder for people. I live on Waiheke Island. It's a really beautiful place to live. It's been a haven. It's been a haven for older people, and we have quite a large number of our community of beneficiaries. Most of those beneficiaries are superannuants. People retired to Waiheke because it used to be cheap. It was a great place to live out your last years in good health in the sun, go swimming every day, and people bought cheaply in order to fund their lifestyles. What's happened in the last 10 to 15 years is that the property boom has meant that our older people are now asset rich. They're asset rich. They're asset rich because the property prices have increased because there's been quite a lot of property speculation that's been fuelled. The property speculation has meant that the cost and the value of people's homes has gone up. What that means for our older people is that they're now at stages where they're having to access residential care, or in the case of Mr Jones, who actually was the president of Grey Power and a serial submitter who was going to be seriously hacked off about not being able to submit on this. But Mr Jones's wife went to a rest home some years ago. He's been asset tested, and this will mean that he'll suffer more hardship because his batch that he bought 30 years ago is now worth $500,000. That means he's having to pay for the quality of care that his wife receives, and he treks over to the North Shore every day of the week to see her. He does that because that's the commitment he made when he married her. I can't believe this government is being so cruel to our older people. This is a stingy and unpleasant piece of legislation.
Call Mike Sabin.